It makes sense as well because, when you're traveling to a whole nother realm, a whole nother space and time, right? And it's like, okay, so how do you really get there? Because everything inhibits the same space. And every time I go there, I still go through the firmament. Like I go through the firmament, like this barrier, this information barrier. He pointed to the map and he says, this is where you're from, pointing to the 6 continents. And he said, this is where we are.
We've got our next guest back by popular demand. Yes, it's Andre, the Alchemist 369. So strap yourselves in because today is a wild one. Now, as always, please like, comment, hype, subscribe. Everything you do helps me get more people on like Andre and helps us produce more compelling stories like these ones, whatever your belief system. All right, let's dive in.
Okay, and I think we should be live. Andre, round 2. Good to have you back.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be back, Emma. Thank you for having me back on.
Fantastic. So Andre, man, I think the last time we spoke, you were like one of my first people on, and it was back in, was it May or so, or May or June? I can't remember now. But I was so intrigued by your story, by your career as an aerospace engineer. And I think since then, a lot has happened. You've been to Egypt, you have connected the dots on Neo Soul. And one of the things I really wanted to speak to you about was the fact that you've connected the dots that Neo Soul is somewhere that you've traveled to in out-of-body experiences, but is actually somewhere beyond Antarctica. So I would love to start there if you're open to that.
Yeah, sure, of course. And this was one of my first big experiences. So I traveled to a place called Neo Soul. And at the time when I first got there, I had no idea where I was going or what it was or anything of that nature. But I got there by setting the intention to access my soul records. And also with setting that intention, I also had a strong desire to get out of where we are. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know if I was going to another realm or what, but I just had a strong intention within me to leave the framework of reality that I knew, whatever that detailed. It was just a strong desire in me. So when I had this experience, I leave my body. I look back at my body. I head straight for the door. I look back. I see my physical body. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm out for sure. And then I go through my mirror. I go in my bathroom. I try to go through my mirror because I knew mirrors were portals. And when I get through the mirror, I enter what now I know it was a portal. When I entered my mirror, I was in a portal. It was all black. And I could hear the energy of like water in my ear, right? Like I knew I was in some type of portal and I knew I was in water and it was pitch black and it was solid on one side and solid on the other side. So the only way I could really go was forward. Like I wasn't going to go back because I want to go forward, right? So I'm walking through this place. And as soon as I get to the other side of it, I was in this new city, this big city. Right? It was huge. It was brand new buildings. It looked like Dubai. And, at the time, like I said, I didn't know really where I was or where I was going. But now I know when I stepped through my mirror, I entered the firmament, right? And that passageway that I walked through was the firmament. And when I came out on the other side, I was in a place called Neo Soul. And I know I was in Neo Soul because in this experience, my spirit guide, who you could call a spirit guide, my friend Francis, looked at me and told me, I said, where am I? He says, you're in Neo Soul. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm out of my body. I don't know anything. I'm just vibing. I'm like, oh yeah, Neo Soul. Like, yeah, of course. Duh. Yeah. And so as I'm walking, I had an experience where I seen 3 other lifetimes of mine play out. I was married, I was middle-aged, and I just knew I was experiencing my soul records and visiting past lifetimes of mine, right? And this was a very big experience for me. One, because when I came through the other side of the firmament, for one, it was like I reached a threshold. It was like before I've been leaving my body for months before this, or maybe I don't know, like a long time before that I've been leaving my body, but I never really reached any like real information or downloads or insights, or never really got that like wow feeling. But once I crossed the other side of this firmament, I was like, wow. I reached this God feeling, like I was in my soul form. My frequency rose so much because I broke out of the framework of these 6 continents that we live on, right? So I was in this place called Neo Soul, and I experienced different lifetimes of mine. And I spent what felt like months in this city, just experiencing lifetimes of mine and interacting with the people there, and just seeing how the day-to-day life is, and things of that nature. And that was a very big experience for me, right? And then fast forward some time, I kind of left it alone. I was like, oh, I don't know where Neo Soul is, but like I'll find out eventually, right? I just knew I'd find out eventually. I didn't know if it was in one of the other realms or beyond the ice wall, but I kind of had, a pretty solid understanding. But I knew for sure it wasn't in these 6 continents, because when I came back from this experience, I was shown this I was shown where we are, Earth as we know it, these 6 continents: North America, South America, Asia, Europe, Africa, Australia. I was shown that this place that we call home is just one part of the entire bigger creation. And when I was shown it, it was like a little bubble. And they were telling me like everything that I know to be true and to exist exists inside this one little bubble. And at the time, I was an aerospace engineer. I'm like, I'm all in for space, right? And I've been dabbling in the conspiracy theories about flat Earth and things like that. I've heard people mention that, we're in a creation and in a construct, but I never knew for myself, right? But after this experience, I for sure knew, like, okay, wherever we are, wherever this place is, it's for sure in an enclosed system with it looked like a bubble was around it, and like that's where we are. So I had that understanding within me. But I let this experience go, and I wanted to experience some other things, so I never really touched on it so much. And then I met my partner, my current partner, Lova. She also leaves her body as well. And when we first met, one of the things that we set our intention on was to access our soul records, because another great thing about out-of-body experiences and the other side in general is you're able to really put the pieces together of who you are outside of this life. Like, who are you? What were you doing before here? Your whole story of your soul's development. It's like you get to remember and relearn and rediscover yourself again, which is such a beautiful thing in itself, right? Like, the out-of-body experience is just great. First, you can realize that you exist outside of here. And then second, you can start to piece together parts of your life that are just like, it's just an amazing feeling. So we started putting together our pieces, and we started having more out-of-body experiences. And one night we tried to leave our bodies together to meet up on the other side. But when she left, she ended up going to a place called Neo Soul as well. And she experienced different lifetimes of hers. And in her experience, she was shown, a guy pointed to her map. It was a map, and she was like in a classroom in a map. And he pointed to the map and he says, "This is where you're from," pointing to the 6 continents. And he said, "This is where we are." And then she was like, "Oh yeah, that's the ice wall." She was like, "Yeah, I know about that," right? So that was confirmation for both of us that, okay, Neo Soul is definitively beyond the ice wall, right? And
Did she see
I
it
had
in the
another
same way?
experience.
Sort of
Yeah.
Did she see it in the same way, sort of enclosed, like an enclosed system?
No. So, well, my experience when I came back, I was like outside of the framework of creation, and I was kind of like coming back into my body, but I asked to be shown that. So like that was something separate. This wasn't like a physical map that I was shown. She was shown just like a map of like, imagine being in school and seeing, the map of the world. Only they
Okay,
had
so
the real map.
she saw the map of the world, and then she saw what looked like, I guess, the Antarctic wall or Antarctic sort of, or the continent of Antarctica surrounding Earth, or the Earth, what we call Earth. And then she saw Neo Soul separately. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And the best way for people listening, the best way to picture this, if you Google, German World War II flat Earth map, right? That's like the most accurate map that we have. Like that's pretty much like the map of this place, right? And there's also a map of it on the moon and things like that. There's a big rabbit hole, for people to go down if they're unfamiliar with the ice wall or lands beyond it, for sure. But yeah, that's what she was shown. So that told me, okay, for sure, Neo Soul is beyond the ice wall. And then that targeted me to want to experience it again. So then I remember being out of my body. I'm in a school. I'm being shown things. I'm in a school somewhere, and I'm asking questions like, okay, where am I? What's going on? And nobody was like really telling me like what I wanted to hear. And then I leave this school and I'm in this parking lot and I see somebody's with a shirt that says Beyond the Ice Wall. And I was like, oh,
Sure.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. He had a shirt on
Okay.
that said Beyond the Ice Wall. So, I don't know if everybody else could see this guy or not, but I seen him and I was like, okay, this is obviously the guy that I need to talk to. So I go to talk to him and he tells me, I was like, yo, so where are we? He was like, this is Neo Soul. I was like, all right, so this is Beyond the Ice Wall. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. And then I asked him, I was like, how come everybody else doesn't know? Like I was asking them about like, where are we? Are we beyond the ice wall? And I was asking them and he tells me, it's because, he was like, so you understand the realms and how there's different realms and different information and knowledge and different timelines and things. I said, yeah. He said, okay, well, this is one of those situations. The same way that there's levels to information and knowledge where you are, there's levels here. And I forget his exact wording, but it was the understanding that I got from that experience was there's also levels beyond the ice wall of knowledge and information as well. But that was nonetheless, that whole experience was confirmation for me, myself, that Neo Soul is in fact beyond the ice wall as well.
Okay. So could you explain for people who might be listening, what is the ice wall? What's going on? What do you think is going on?
Yeah. So, all right. So we live on a flat plane of existence, right? This is just very true. I've seen this out of my body, and there's tons of information backing this up that you can find out here on Earth. If we live on a flat plane of existence, that means the Earth is not round, right? So if Antarctica is supposedly this ice ball on the south of the globe, right? And if you stretch this out and make it flat, what does that mean? That means that south is around us, right? And people ask, well, how can that be so? Well, if you have a magnet in the center of a map, if you've laid the Earth, the map of the Earth out flat, and if you have a magnet in the center, that compass is always going to point north in the center, right? So what does that mean? Anything opposite of the center is south, right? That's how come, you can still travel north, east, south, west. A compass still works on this model and everything of that nature. But essentially what it is Antarctica encircles us around here. And this is commonly referred to as the ice wall. Now, I don't necessarily know if it's necessarily an ice wall or anything of that nature, but I do know for a fact that Antarctica encompasses this place. Now, so if that's the case, there can be land beyond the ice wall, right? Beyond Antarctica. And that's exactly what it is. I've been there. And so when I say there's other land masses beyond Antarctica, there is. And the land beyond Antarctica is even bigger than the land within here. Because once you realize, okay, the ice wall is real, I've been there, then you can start saying, okay, You start doing your research here. Who else is talking about this? Oh, there's a map of this place on the moon. Oh, okay. We feel like Hitler knew about this in World War II, and there's a map of it there. Oh, okay, cool. You start doing your research here, and you start to understand, okay, so the land beyond the ice wall is even bigger than the land here. Like, there's just more land. There's tons of continents. And for sure, beyond the ice wall, there is a city called Neo Sol. And in this city, there are humans just like you and I. And we know this because Lova was actually told how humans got there. When she was shown the map, she was told as well how humans migrated from where we are there for freedom, essentially.
Okay. And what did they tell her? What was the story? What's the...
Essentially just that humans traveled from here to there. She was shown the gaps in the ice wall and where they come to travel from and things like that. So there are gaps in the ice wall and there is passages for humans to come through, but it's hard for the general public to do so because of things like the Antarctic Treaty. Like there's no public transport allowed, south of a certain line of latitude. You're not allowed to travel there. There are guided tours to Antarctica, but then again, you're only taken to a specific part, and things like that. But there is a way to get there physically, for sure.
So it's so interesting, right? Because I think the first time we spoke, I think I really sort of dove in and touched on the fact that you're an engineer by trade, by background. You have obviously like very much rational, very much sort of, I guess, steeped in science. You've obviously had these out-of-body experiences, these obviously subjective experiences. Aside from that, what else really kind of like convinced you? And obviously you and your girlfriend as well, the fact that you had the same experience or you had very similar experiences. What else convinced you of this?
So before I even got into out of bodies, I was starting to get into like flat earth theory. Like I remember seeing it and I'd be like, oh, these guys are retarded, right? Like what are you talking about? And then one day I was just like, let me just look at this with an open mind. And I looked at it with an open mind and I'm like, it kind of starts to make sense. Like, where do we get our Wi-Fi from? You think you get it from satellites, but no, it's actually fiber optic cables under the ocean connecting the continents. You're like, oh, wow, okay. And then you start to, one thing that really did it for me was like, Google images of satellites in space. You'll never see an actual satellite in space. And I'm like, wow, so satellites are in space and they have the ability to capture images here on Earth, but they can't capture another satellite or even capture anything really in space. I was like, that's weird. That didn't make sense to me, right? And then I seen somebody say something like, look at a photo of the planets. You'll see that they are CGI. And I'm like, oh snap, let me look at it. And I'm like, yo, they're not real photos. And so I started realizing that, and then I ended up finding, Darius, and he was mentioning how the earth was flat and he's seen it out of his body and stuff. So I'm like, okay, if he's saying that and he's out of his body, then I'm like, okay, maybe there's some truth to this. And the first big experience I've had when I came out of my body, I came back and I seen where we are, and there was a bubble around us. So that lines up with what? That lines up with the firmament. That lines up with the flat plane of existence. It wasn't round, what I seen. It was flat, and it was like a little tiny bubble. But what came with this was the understanding, the knowing. It came back as a knowing, as like, oh yeah, I remember. And I just had all these realizations. Like my whole world came crashing down after this one experience. I'm like, man, my whole life really is a lie. Like all these people were trying to figure out, like Neil deGrasse Tyson and all these top physicists in the world are trying to figure out wormholes, right? Or bending space-time, all of these theories. I'm like, well, I just went through a portal out of my body, So like, I know they exist, right? So like, now I know 100% that portals are real and they exist, wormholes, whatever you want to call it. I just went through one, right? So I knew that, and I'm like, man, that's crazy. Um, and I was just shown like everything that I thought to know to be true or to exist only existed inside of this one little bubble. And to really understand creation, I had to break out of this bubble mentally, physically, out of body, like everything. Like I had to really free my mind to break out of that. But yeah, it was just that after that first experience, I'm like, yeah, I know, it just came back as a knowing, like, yeah, this is real, this is true, you know?
Yeah. And so obviously then you met your girlfriend, your current girlfriend at the moment, and she had that experience as well. And were there any other parallels? Was there any particular space that you both saw, or, you know, physical buildings or people? Was there anything else about your experiences that was shared?
Yeah, so actually, yeah, when she first came back and she was like, yeah, I was in Neo-Seoul, I was like, well, what did it look like, right? Like, I was like, what did it look like? She was like, tall, big blue buildings. They look like new. Like, they're not really blue, but like, that's kind of like the vibe. Like, when you think of like a Dubai building, it's like a new big glass mirrors and things like that. And so I was like, yes, that's exactly what I seen too. Big, tall, blue buildings. And she was like, it's futuristic, but it's still kind of like old fashioned at the same time. And that's because when we were there, it was our past lives, right? So Neo Soul is outside of the resets, right? Have you heard of the resets, like the Great Flood and things like
Okay.
that?
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
explain that though for people that don't know.
Yeah, so, if you guys are familiar with, the mud floods, the great resets, there's this guy on Instagram, The Improbable Dreamer. He talks a lot about, the mud floods and things like that. You guys can check that out. There's tons of evidence, tons of proof of these things, how buildings go deep. There was a mud flood, there was resets here, and there's been stories all the way back to the Bible, Noah and the great flood and all of those things. It's true, it does happen. So when I say they're outside of the resets, it is. So when we get reset, humanity basically stops and starts over again, right? Well, if you're outside of that reset, if you're outside of that restart of society, what are you able to do? You're able to grow and develop faster and stronger and keep growing, right? And that's essentially what's beyond the ice wall. So when we were there was past lives. And when I was there specifically, it was year 2015, but it was the year 2015 on the time scale that Neo Soul uses, because they're outside of reset. So they count time differently than us. So in comparison to the years that we have and go by, like it's 2025, in comparison to 2025 on Earth to 2015 beyond the ice wall, I don't know exactly where that lines up, but I do know it was before now. Even then, it was still advanced. And when I say it was older, the only thing I could think of is it had to be like close to like 1800s, 1900s here. And the reason why I say that is because the clothing that I seen and the clothing that Lova seen lines up with around like late 1800s, early 1900s style of clothing. But because mind you, the humans came from here and went there. So with them comes their style and their fashion.
Did you get a sense of, do you know what that story was? Like, who went there, more or less, like what timeline? That I think if you Google, there's like stories about Admiral Byrd. I've seen some of that stuff, which I think is what you were inferring from World War II, that kind of thing. When I think the US went over, or Admiral Byrd went over with a fleet of 5,000 and then basically got chased back, or they came back.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, all of that stuff is true too. Yeah. So I don't know exactly where it started from. I don't know, but I do know for sure that humans came from here and went there. And if this was ever to come out and be told, the humans over there would be considered extraterrestrials, ETs, because they don't come from this known land. So like if we were to ever find out, well, there is actually humans that don't come from here and they're advanced because they're outside of resets, right? You would be like, oh wow, these are some advanced humans, some advanced ETs.
Yeah.
But really,
Yeah.
it's not really that. It's just that they were able to grow and develop.
Okay.
But
Is there
yeah,
any
for sure, there's been
technology?
accounts, tons of.
Was there any technology that you were able to kind of like match up with Lovo or anything aside from the clothing? Was there anything else that you guys spotted that
No,
okay.
clothing and cities, the clothing, the overall look and the feel. And at this time, no, not really anything other than that. But when I was there, I for sure, I was there for a long time. So like I was able to get like the general vibe and understanding of it. And at the time I was there, I didn't know really where it was, but now I do. So there was they were advanced, and now I'm under the impression that a lot of our technology, medicine, and things like that come from beyond the ice wall. And why do I say this? Because in one of my lifetimes, I was a doctor, and I owned a rehab facility on the side of my house. And I remember administering drug Suboxone to one of my patients. It was Suboxone, and what do we have here? We have Suboxone for opiate addiction, to treat opiate addiction, right? And that was there in Neo Soul. And when I was in Neo Soul, it was one of my past lives. So it was obviously before now. So a lot of the drugs and medicines, they come from over there, a lot of our technological advances. And I remember, I seen Flat Earth Dave talk about seeing a boat in Antarctica. Like he was tracking ships, and you can see a ship being tracked inside Antarctica in the ice. And it's like, that's weird. Well, because it wasn't really in the ice, it was beyond the ice wall. So there is communication. There's like, people know this, just the general public does not. And I think that's a major thing. That's why I think it's so important for people to understand really where we are. And because the number one ways to entrap a soul is to make it believe something. So if you believe that you are on a globe and in space and all of this is real, and it cuts you off from the truth, it cuts you off from your true home. When you understand that reality is not what you've been told, and that there's land beyond there, and there's actual humans there living in harmony, like complete. Like Neo Soul is a nice city to live in, for sure. It's a nice city to live in. It really changes your whole mind and your whole perception.
Is it a place that you target quite a bit in your out of body experiences, or is it a case of that you were taken there because you were reliving your past lives? Do you have a sense of that? Like, are you able to go there at will? Have you been there since?
Yeah, I have been there since. Like I said, I was there right after Lova had her experience. I was there again, and I was just taken there that time. I was just taken there. And when I was there, I seen a guy with that shirt with the Beyond the Ice Wall shirt, and I was in a school. Yeah, I can certainly target that, when you go out, and like I said, and every time I go there, I still go through the firmament. Like I go through the firmament, like this barrier, this information barrier.
Okay, and when you say you go through the firmament, it looks like a portal? Do you like, how does it, can you maybe describe what it looks like?
So yeah, so when I say I go through the firmament, it's not like I'm walking to it and I go through it and I just pass it. It's not like that. It's like I'm in my mirror, and when I get inside my mirror, I'm in it. I'm just already in it. And like there's tons of water and energy around it. It's like a strong force field. It's like a strong energetic force field that keeps frequency and information out of here, right? This plays into the veil of forgetfulness and things of that nature. So there's a force field that keeps things out of here. And when I'm in there, you feel the energy, and it's such a immense feeling. And then immediately after you cross it, it's pitch black in there, but you just know you're in water because you can hear it. If you can imagine being in the ocean and hearing all of the energy of the ocean just in your ear and like all the power of it, like that's kind of what it's like. And then once you get on the other side of it, it's like you feel 1,000 pounds lighter. It's like you're free. And as soon as I escaped that, it was like all of my issues, all of my memories of Andre were gone. And like I was just free, just in my soul,
Okay. Okay. And so have you also targeted any other parts of Antarctica? Like, have you targeted, the entrance that you mentioned that can take you through to Neosol and
Yeah.
any of those things?
No, I haven't targeted that, but I have targeted other things in Antarctica in the past, for sure. No, it was set up as an intention for us to do. And I did go to Antarctica before, and I did see, bases pretty similar to like what Laura described. I didn't see. I didn't watch her complete interview with you. I don't know what all she got into, but I didn't. I did see things similar to that, like a base and things of that nature. There for sure are bases in Antarctica. There for sure are doing things down there, and that's why we can't go there. You know what I mean? That's why the Antarctic Treaty is a thing. I really believe that had a big part of World War II as well.
Okay. In what sense?
Um, because they were fighting for control over it. I don't have exact clarity on everything, but I do believe that, beyond the ice wall, or I do believe that the Germans had something going on down there. And this is just, based off of research here on Earth, researching Operation High Jump and the German Nazi bases in Antarctica and things like that of that nature. I really believe that had a big part of World War II for sure.
Okay. 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 And so, what else has been going on with you? So you spent a bit of time in Egypt as well. Were you doing anything
Yeah.
related to OBEs out there, targeting specific?
Yeah, I was. So as you know, out of body experiences, Darius talks a lot about the halls of Amenti and things of that nature underneath the pyramids and things like that. And when you go there, when you go to Egypt, I went there obviously, to figure it out, to try to study frequency and really see what's going on there firsthand and see the ancient sites and places that I've been out of my body, see if they line up with what's there now and things of that nature. And when I was there, it's really evident that the pyramids sit on top of a hill. It's really clear that like they sit on a hill, and what's underneath that, it's like, why wouldn't you guys finish digging it up? Like, why would you not? Because when on the side of this hill, you also see, like, they call them tombs and stuff like that, but you see buildings start to go underneath the pyramids on the side of the hill. You see that there's more to dig and there's more to go in. Like, you can see it clear as day. So it's almost as if, why don't they? So I was there checking that out, just seeing if it lines up with the halls of Amenti and things like that, because these go back to the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. When he talks about the halls of Amenti, Darius talks about the halls of Amenti. We had targets to go to the halls of Amenti and things of that nature. So I went there to really try to see these things, like, all right, does it line up with what's there now? Right? Because you can make all of these claims, but when you're actually there, you're like, okay, this is true. And so they sit on top of a hill, and if they were to dig deep, you would find out more. And this is the same theme all over Egypt. I went to Saqqara as well, and they're still digging up stuff in Saqqara, and they found out that Saqqara, and this is science, this isn't me saying this is like proven, that the Saqqara step pyramid dates back older than the pyramids of Giza. And this is a new site, and it's only like, I don't know, maybe an hour away from the pyramids of Giza, and there's a step pyramid there, and there's another ancient site, and they're digging underneath there, right?
Mm.
And then I went to the town over to Giza. I went to a town called Abrawash. In Abrawash, there's steps that go down into the desert. So they go down into the desert, down deep, like to the point where I couldn't walk down all the steps, right? So that lines up as well with the story of that deserts are not natural, that deserts are a result of destruction, war, right? Because there's a whole city, a whole network underneath there. And going to Egypt was so cool to see this firsthand. And then another thing that I wanted to go and verify for myself was, okay, you know, was ancient Egypt really lush at one point in time? And in the desert, when I was there, I seen seashells. There was a wall in the middle of the desert, and there were seashells all in it. I got pictures and videos. I even have some of them. I even took some of them with me. So that lines up as well. So Egypt was really just verification for me, and more verification for me that the stuff that I'm speaking about and telling people that is the truth, it is, because I actually was there. I seen it. Pyramids sit on a hill. There's stuff underneath them. You can see this. I got pictures of it, and yeah. So that was a really cool experience for me to go there and see that.
When you were out there, did you have a number of out of body experiences, and do you find that in different locations around the world, it changes the experience that you have, or you're more likely to travel to specific places?
Yeah, for sure. For me, at the time when I first went to Egypt, I was leaving my body pretty proficiently, like 2 or 3 times a week. And when I got to Egypt, I was in a new environment, new everything. So I wasn't in a state to like actively practice. And my new partner came and met me there and things like that. However, I was leaving spontaneously at that time. But my thought forms were so crazy and things, like I would leave and I'd start seeing and hearing all these things, and I'd be like, oh, no, not today. Let me just go back to my body. So I came back to my body. So I didn't actually have the opportunity to leave when I was in Egypt. And that was my original intention. But I ended up cutting my Egypt trip short because, what they say about the people there, and it is a rough environment to be in. But what I have found out about traveling and leaving your body is, you can leave your body and it's always going to be the same for me. Like every time I leave, like I am just in my room or my environment, and then I can leave. But what does change is your state of being. It's always you that that's the biggest contributing factor to your out of body experience. It's always a state of being that you are in. And what I mean by that is, when I move in different environments, and I've been traveling for quite some time now, it does become a little difficult to get in that mind state to free yourself and
Yeah.
to really leave your body. But it doesn't necessarily change when you're out, because when you're out of your body, I can access the same stuff when I was in New York that I could when I was in Egypt, but the process to get there certainly changes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think you previously, I think I heard you talk about a previous life as well in Egypt. Was that something you also, like, you matched up to what you saw when you were out there?
Yeah. So, I do remember some previous lives of mine in Egypt, and I don't even know if I can call them lives or what, but I do remember being there. I've had some experiences with there, but when I got there, everything is different. So like you can't see nothing. Everything's covered. It looks completely different now than it did back then. And that's really kind of why I was there, just to verify, like, okay, in my out of body experience, I was here. It was lush, and I know I was in Egypt, and it was lush, and things were different. So I'm like, okay, is there any proof of that now? And when I went there, that's when I was searching for things in the desert and found seashells and proof of that. Just trying to verify things that I've seen out of my body. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And what are you up to at the moment? What's going on in your life? How are you getting on with your experimentation? What's happening?
Yeah, so right now I'm kind of in a transitional phase where I'm looking for a forever place. So in my travels, and I'm rediscovering myself as well. I have been really big on the out of body experience and gaining knowledge and information and getting back to people. But another important thing that, I think is good for people to hear and for me to talk about is the effect and cycles that you go through in your everyday life after the out of body experience and things like that, because I'm realizing that there's cycles. And when you're traveling, you're outside of your comfort zone, right? And I'm realizing that when you're traveling and things of that nature, you seek it, you find out really what are you made of. You know, when you're outside of your comfort zone and you're in a new area and you don't have any comforts that you're used to, what are you going to reach to? Are you really still going to eat once a day? You know, are you are you really going to still meditate and leave your body in this new place with all these new attractions and things like that? Like, you really find out what you're made of and if you're really about the stuff that you think you are, because it's really easy to live a structured life, eating once a day, meditating and things of that nature when you're in a structured environment. Like, you have to go to work, you're in a comfortable place, you know, things change. But as soon as you step outside of that, it's kind of hard to, you know, do that. So right now I'm finding out about myself, Andre, in this life. Like, am I really as disciplined as I once thought I was in these new environments and things of that nature? But aside from that, regarding, you know, out of body and things that I'm working on, I'm still trying to piece together more beyond the ice wall. You know, I just did a presentation on the mechanics of this place, how the sun and the moon rotate, how everything's plasma here, you know. So I'm trying to figure out more pieces of that. And somebody asked me to, and I'm starting to put together an understanding of how time really works, right? So when we say time doesn't exist on the other side, what does that really mean? How can we explain that and put that into human words and human terms? You know, so I'm starting to work on that time and more of the structure of this place, map out more of beyond the ice wall, and things like that. I'm just really trying to build a solid understanding of everything, you know, essentially.
Can you tell us a bit more about that? Like, what have you pieced together so far, or, well, what you're able to tell us? Is there much that you can?
Yeah. So I do know that there's a core to this place. A core, and when I mean a core, it's like you can think of the core of the earth, but all throughout history, ancient cultures, they talk about this thing called the black sun, right? And the black sun is a core. It's literally the core of the place. It's the energy source of this whole place. And there's 33rd degree Masons that talk about this. You know, there's tons of evidence here of this as well. Like, you don't even need to leave your body to realize this. You can just do your research and this is where you'll come to.
So where does this show up in, like, ancient texts and things? You said, 33rd degree.
Yeah, so a lot of ancient cultures discuss the black sun. If you just Google, you know, the black sun, they'll pop up. You'll see this is a repetitive thing throughout history. Yeah, I have a video that I share often with people of a 33rd degree Mason describing this realm and what it looks like and things like that. What I was able to find out was that there's a plasma core, and the sun and the moon are also plasma. They are exactly opposites of each other. Like, everything's symmetrical. And when you have a plasma core, plasma, when it's static, it creates a magnetic field similar to a magnet, a toroidal field similar to a magnet. Now that's what creates the toroidal field that we discuss here is this plasma core. It creates a toroidal field around this place, and that's where we get the illusion of gravity. That combined with density, I figured that out. I figured, you know, in this core, it breathes, it expands and contracts. And when it expands and contracts, the sun, that's where we get the seasons from, traveling around the tropics of Cancer, the Tropic of Capricorn. The core has to do with the moon phases. When it's emitting more energy, the moon will appear fuller. And, like, that's why, you know, when people have a full moon, they say the energy's crazy and things like that. Well, it's true. The core is emitting more energy, you know, and it's not so much the moon that caused the tides and things like that. It's the core that causes the tides to flow up. The moon is just a representation of the core. That's why there's a map of this place on the moon. You know, there's just a,
when you say there's a map of this place on the moon, what do you mean? Sorry, just because
yeah, I don't know if I have any pictures showed up or nothing, but yeah, there's a map of this place on the moon. I don't know. There's tons of Instagram and TikTok videos of this. Like if you guys just search map of Earth on the moon, like you'll see it. And what it is the dark craters that you see on the moon. When you look up, NASA will tell you that those are craters from meteors hitting the moon. Have you ever seen a meteor hit the moon? I never did. You know what I mean? So like, where are they coming from? It's not that. It's literally the the map of this realm on the moon. You can see the 6 continents. You can see the ice wall wrap around it, and then you can see more land beyond there. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So you're mapping out, like you said, you've got a theory of gravity. And I'm guessing, right? So in order to fit the theory of the firmament and all of these things, and yeah, essentially you're trying to work out all of the, a scientific framework,
Mechanics.
the mechanics that fit and make this make sense, essentially.
Yeah. And another thing that I'm trying to figure out and get clarity on is, all right, so we know there's a firmament. The next question that I have personally and that I'm trying to make sense of in my head is, okay, if we have a firmament and there's land beyond the ice wall, does the firmament only exist over these 6 continents, or does it exist over everything? Is there just one encompassing this whole realm, or is there one over us and then another one over everything? That I don't know. And the reason why I'm questioning that is because I was shown when I came back to here that there was a bubble over these 6 continents. Like there was a bubble over just Earth. And every time I go to Neo Soul, I go through the firmament. So in my head, it's like, okay, trying to make sense of that. And okay, if there's a core, I understand how it works on these 6 continents. But then is there another sun in Neo Soul? Like, how does that work? How would that realm work and things like that? So I got the mechanics of like this area done, but I'm trying to get the mechanics of the entire realm, trying to figure that out.
Got it. Because I guess like that's a key point in terms of for anybody who's gone out of body and doing all of that stuff, which is that you always talk, well, not just yourself, but we always talk about portals, and we also talk about mirrors and windows and all of those things. Just today I was talking to a good friend of mine who I think he had it for the first time, and he went through what looked like, I guess, a bit like what you're saying, to him, when he looked on the other side of it, it looked cartoonish. But when he went through it, it became like, as real in his sense. And he was flying through this world. And for him, it was just like, he mentioned or described it as being like peaks. So just like snowy peaks, this mountainous region, lots of people and lots of dark entities that were like to sort of space between all of the different people. They could see him flying. They kind of recognized him. Some people came to sort of talk to him. But he did mention this almost like portal-esque thing that he had to go through, which I thought was quite interesting. And the fact that it was almost like the other side of it, it looked cartoonish, but once he was through it, it was like, okay, no, this is real.
It's so funny that he mentioned it seems cartoonish because, I kind of just wiped this off. When I got there, I just didn't know what to make of it, but it almost makes sense. And I just had a revelation now as you were mentioning this, that this is probably why Tom Campbell, I don't know if you're familiar with him, Tom Campbell. This is probably why he comes up with this theory of everything renders like a video game. As soon as your consciousness hits it, it renders. Because when I came through my mirror and it was a portal, it was almost like things were foggy a little bit, and it took some time for it to like really materialize in front of me. And when I say foggy, that could also be described as cartoonish or something
Sort of
of
like
that nature.
pixels
I experienced something similar.
Whatever.
Yeah, and then as soon as I was there and I got more adjusted, it became more real and more physical and things like that. And then that brought me to and how when Tom Campbell said things kind of render as you come, as consciousness comes, it kind of makes sense. I don't know too much about that, but yeah, for sure, it is kind of like that. That was my experience too with going through portals. Is it takes a little bit for things to really like materialize.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. No, that was his first experience. I was like, wow. So we just had like a chat.
Yeah.
He was just in awe, and then also he was relaying like, the light. This sort of, because he was like, oh, I wonder if this is like the hill that people talk about, and what was it?
Oh, yeah, the hill, yeah, and the telepathy tapes
Was
and things like
rendering.
that, yeah.
He had
Yeah.
that image, sorry, the light, that hue, the sort of reds and yellows and the sort of Twilight-esque feel to it and stuff, which is like incredible. But yeah, no, I hear you on Thomas Campbell's point around the rendering thing, and also maybe on the other side, because it's so expansive and it is everything. If you think about it, like a computer, right? We can't render everything, so it will just. Back in the day, I don't know how computers are these days, but back in the day, you know what I mean? It'll just render part of a world because it's just so much information for that computer to be able to handle. So then
So
maybe
massive.
Yeah.
And it makes sense as well because, when you're traveling to a whole nother realm, a whole nother space and time, right? And it's like, okay, so how do you really get there? Because everything inhibits the same space, right? It's just separated by frequency. So if things are just separated by frequency, what does that mean? When you go to another place, it could take some time to load up, you could say, or render, because you're now elevating your frequency and things like that. Yeah, for sure.
No, for sure. Do you know what? About a week ago, I had an experience, and I actually consciously, intentionally tried to have an out-of-body experience, right? And I got to sort of like sleep paralysis or the energetic vibrational state a couple of times in the night. First time, got to it, tried to exit, couldn't exit. Second time, I managed to like roll out. And as I rolled out of my bed and looked up, I expected to see my bed, myself, and the scene changed. And it was like a white cave. And I was trying my best, like with my hand, like looking at my hand to try and bring my consciousness in. And as I was doing that, I was trying to control it. And I felt like I was drunk. Like I kept on like not being able to focus on where I was and to navigate, to, move around. It was really, really strange. Anyway, came out of it, spoke to, so I'm doing some coaching stuff with Graham Nichols, and he was like, yeah, a lot of people experience what you experience. Because I was almost like second guessing myself, like, was that an out of body experience? Did I actually get out? All of that stuff. And he's like, sometimes.
Let me ask you, how clear are your thoughts here in the physical? Are you meditating and things of that nature? Like, are you very present here?
I'm not meditating as much. You could probably say I'm juggling quite a bit at the moment. So that would probably maybe give you a sense of,
Yeah, I hear you. And because I've noticed that as well. Sometimes, when I lose focus here and I'm out, I may have less focus or less clarity on things. And what I found that helped me with that is, okay, so when I'm here, the more focused that I am here in the physical, that transpires in the out of body state because all of your thoughts and feelings and emotions go with you when you leave. So if you're really focused here, it'll be easier for you to be really focused in the out-of-body state. That combined with how you leave and exit your body also has some play in it. Like if your body's not fully shut down, part of your consciousness may still be here when you're there, and that's when you got to bring your consciousness there. There's a couple factors that go into it for sure, but that's what I'm finding out.
Okay. That's interesting. That's an interesting point around that. So, yeah, I used to meditate quite a bit, and I've kind of like just stopped. Maybe I need to do that. And then
life happens in cycles, man.
It comes in cycles. Yeah. And
comes in cycles,
as
man.
well.
Yeah.
Something else you said as well about the energy. I was talking to a guy called Matt a couple of weeks ago. I've got a podcast episode coming out with him, and he has had a lot of experiences. He's sort of more steeped in sort of ancient traditions and things like that. And one of the things he mentioned was when there is a full moon or when there is some sort of like, I don't know the terminology, but, things that are happening, some energy around the sun and stuff, he tends to have more experiences. Does that match up with you? Like, Do you when
Yeah,
you said when the
yeah.
electromagnetic field is heightened, you're more likely to have these types of
Yeah, for sure. So today is the winter solstice, right? So times
yes,
like that,
yes.
astrology is very important, and it all has to do with the core, the plasma core that I was speaking about. Everything has to do with that. So when it's a full moon, what does that mean? That means the core is emanating more energy. The field is changing, and what creates the field? The toroidal field, the plasma core, because it creates a toroidal field like a magnet, right? So, and if the full moon emanates the core, that's kind of like your internal clock to say, like, okay, the energy or the field is in this state. Now, I don't understand exactly with full clarity the overall states of everything and like how it exactly plays out, but I do know for sure that this core creates a magnetic field, and that has to do with the energy of this whole place, right? So yeah, that for sure that lines up with exactly, what I've came to find out to be true as well. Yeah.
Okay. And any other really interesting places that you've traveled to or experiences that you've had since last time we spoke back in May, June? Have you been anywhere else that's
Um
really captured you, let's say?
um let me think. We touched on No, I think the most important development since we last talked is the clarity that I have on Neo Soul and Beyond the Ice Wall. And for sure that there's humans there. Those humans would be considered extraterrestrials. And the advanced civilization, they're outside of the resets. I've talked to people there saying that, like, hey, they're trying to help us wake up and things like that. Like, certain things are in place there for we do find out the truth and things like that. That's really probably the most significant thing that I've done recently.
Okay. So if you were to go back to Neo Soul anytime soon, what would you want to pull back? What's your burning question?
All right, so really, I want to figure out. All right, so I know this is just a personal thing. I know me and my partner, we've had previous lifetimes. Or I would like to figure out, okay, so exactly which lifetime was her and me together? Because I've had 3 different lifetimes of mine with 3 different wives, and I have a pretty good idea. So I'd like to figure that out just for personal reasons to piece together my own personal story, figure out more of our storyline. Aside from that, I would like to figure out what's going on outside of Neo Soul. I'd like to go to another place and see really how massive this thing is. Like, I understand that Neo Soul is a city where humans are and they're more advanced than us. But okay, is there other cities out there too with humans? Is there cities where humans and other beings exist? Is, like really what's going on beyond there? So, if I went to Neo Soul, I would try to figure out exactly more about what they know as a culture and where are they present day.
Okay.
Because I was there in the year 2015, so I'd like to see it present day, like what's going on there now.
When was your partner there? Did she have a year? Did she know what year she was there? Was it 20 around that same time?
No, she wasn't. She wasn't told a year.
Okay.
She didn't ask those questions because another major thing about out of body experiences is a lot of times you're only presented with what you seek. I specifically asked, like, what year is it? Where am I? Like, you have to specifically ask these things. So I don't know, but based off the things and descriptions that she told me, I believe she may have been there. She's been there a couple times too, like 3 or 4 times. She's seen different lifetimes of hers there as well. One of the lifetimes I do want to say it was probably before 2015, like
Okay.
probably, I don't know how many years before, but definitely before I was there. But another time it seemed like it lined up pretty well with what I seen.
Okay. Okay. And you mentioned the map. I think it was her experience, like seeing a map and seeing other land masses. Did you both see that? Was that your experience as well, or?
No, so out of my body, I never seen the map. I just done extensive research here on Earth and have seen those things here. But what I was shown for sure was that this place that we are in, these 6 continents, have a bubble around it and things of that nature. But the map that she described, it lines up with the maps that I have seen. Like I said, the World War II map and things like that. It lines up like exactly, and that's exactly how she explained it.
Okay. Have you seen the trailer for Spielberg's new Disclosure film? You seen?
No, what's that about?
Okay. No, a friend of mine sent it. What's it called? Is it The Age of Disclosure or something? Because I thought it was quite interesting. Let me see. Let me just quickly. Spielberg Disclosure Day. Sorry, it's called Disclosure Day. It's coming out next
Disclosure
spring.
Day? Oh wow.
I
That's
know.
gonna be a good
I thought
one.
it was quite fitting because I didn't even realize there was something. It's just interesting. Popular culture always seems to kind of match up with, or at least like be a bit of a parody, I guess.
And that's a big one because Steven Spielberg's a big director, and having a movie like Disclosure Day is big. And that just triggered into me because they have to show you these things before they happen to escape the karmic cycle. Well, you can call it that, but to escape the punishment, you have to show them what you're doing before. So the fact that they're starting to show things like that's pretty big.
What do you mean by the karmic? Yeah, can you explain that? What you just said? That they have to show things.
Yeah.
To break the karmic.
Yeah. So, yeah, because once you're aware of these things, right, you understand the nature of reality and things like that. So it makes it less detrimental if they show you what they're doing to you before they do it. That's like one way. Like, this isn't exact, but this is just the way that I can phrase it right now on the fly because I don't have this developed completely. But it's a way to make it so the effect or the punishment, not punishment, but the consequence of your actions less. If you show it to them before you do it, it's like, hey, I told you the truth. It's now you don't believe it, right? Because there's no greater authority than their own person's soul, right? So if you're shown the truth, but you actively choose not to believe it, it's like, okay, I'm not lying to you. You just didn't want to believe it, So it's kind of like.
Okay, got you. Yeah, I just find it quite interesting because there's just like a lot of stuff, going around, things that might happen next year. There's a lot of and obviously we're in the sort of out of body game, right? So, but a lot of these things all kind of seem to be in the same kind of fish tank, really, whether it's, things about UAPs or whether it's about, what's underneath the pyramids. All of these things seem to be coming into our sort of collective consciousness at the moment. So the fact that there's a film called Disclosure Day, which seems to be, obviously it's a trailer, so we don't really know or get a sense of like what it is, and check it out afterwards. But you get a sense that something big is about to be disclosed to the public and people are going to be made aware of, whether it be, I don't know, aliens or whatever else, right, that inhabit this earth with us. But I don't know. I just, what's that guy's name? Is it Chris Bledsoe? There's like stuff that's going to happen next year. Okay, fantastic. Well, you know what? It's been a pleasure having you back on here. Thanks for all of the amazing insights into everything you're doing. Yeah, man, let's have a round 3 in a few more months when you've got some more stuff going on. Yeah, 100%. Anytime. I would love to have you back. So yeah, it's always a pleasure talking to you, Andre.
So, did you enjoy that? I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. But what did you think of Andre's story? Have you ever been to Neo Sol, beyond the ice wall, Antarctica, or anywhere else beyond this realm out of body? Feel free to let us know what you think. Is there anyone else you would love for me to speak to? Let me know. Until next time.